So today I just kind of needed a break from cinema, and I watched a couple of YA adaptations that came out when I was in grad school, and I didn't have a lot of money because I was in grad school, so I didn't see them. The first one is 1919. It's 2011's Beastly. This is an absolutely terrible film. I cannot believe we made it all the way through this film. I watched these movies with a friend. I cannot believe we made it through this movie. It's so bad. It's written and directed by Daniel Barnz, who also did Phoebe in Wonderland, which I have not seen. But it stars Elle Fanning, so I should see it at some point. From a novel by Alex Flynn. Reading about the novel, it sounds like the novel is much better than this god-awful film. I'm not sure what this movie was trying to say in its updating of Beauty and the Beast, but it definitely doesn't say anything positive, and mostly reinforces that if you're rich, you can get away with anything. I don't think anyone learned any lessons in this movie, and it's just bad. The only inspiring thing in the entire movie is Mary-Kate Olsen as this like evil witch teenager, even though in 2011, because she's the same age as me, she was 25. But I'm okay with that. She was good. The rest of the movie was just a mess, and I can't, in good consciousness, recommend it. But if you want to watch a train wreck, it is on Amazon Prime. The other film that I watched, but I wanted to say, Alex Pettyfer has been in mostly bad films, but I really liked Shauna Fest's version of Endless Love, so you can see him in that, and he's good, and I think that film is good. But everything else, like, I don't know, this was a bad film. The next one I watched is on Netflix, and this is 2013's Beautiful Creatures. It's written and directed by Richard LaGravenese's. He is mostly known for writing, or first known for writing, Fisher King, which is a movie I very much love. And if you get a chance, you should check out the Criterion collection edition of that film. It is delightful. From a novel by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. They co-wrote it together, and it stars Han Solo himself, Alden Ehrenreich, I don't know how to say his name, Alice Englert, Jeremy Irons, Viola Davis, Emmy Rossum, Dame Eileen Atkins, Margot Martindale, Zoe Dutch, and the one and only Emma Thompson. Great supporting cast. There aren't enough with a lot of the characters, unfortunately, but it does set up a really nice sort of Southern Gothic take on YA fantasy films in it. Alan Ehrenreich plays Ethan. He is a guy who lives in this very small South Carolina town. He wants out. He is an intellectual. He reads books. His mother was a writer. She recently died. A new girl moves into town. This is Alice Englert. She is Jane Campion's daughter. She's very good in Ginger and Rosa. Check that movie out. She is the niece of the big eccentric rich old man who lives at the top of the town and founded the town. It's one of those towns, Macon Ravenwood, played by Jeremy Irons. What you discover as you watch the film and as these two star-crossed lovers fall in love is that she is a caster, which is a fancy term for witch. Her family are casters. She's about to turn 16, at which time she will either be claimed for the light or claimed for the dark, and it's her dealing with this curse on her family that makes all the women fall to the dark and how to rise above that and also still be in love with her man friend. There's more to it than that. I don't want to spoil the story. The main thing is that the world building is quite good, whereas in Beastly, the world building is shit, and none of it's believable, and it would be believable if they created a world that had rules that you could just be like, oh, okay. Beastly does not do that. Beautiful Creatures creates a rich world that's also part of our world, and so you can believe the fantastical elements as well as the real elements. And the real elements actually feel real, which make the fantastical elements have something to sort of land on, whereas in Beastly, nothing feels real, and so none of it, you're just like, what is happening? The two leads, Alden and Alice, have really great chemistry together, so there's that. Jeremy Irons is fantastic. Emma Thompson gives one of her best performances because it is just completely, fake and amazing and evil and wonderful. Amy Rossum is quite good in her couple of scenery chewing scenes. I liked Viola Davis. There's one scene towards the end of the film where Viola Davis says nothing and says more than anything in the entire rest of the film. It's so fantastic. However, the film has a bit of a racial optics problem because it's set in the South, and at one point they do a recreation of the Civil War, and the Civil War is a big moment in this film, a big reason for the history of the film. And you have these casters, and then you have sort of the people who keep their history. And in this case, it's played by Viola Davis. It's sort of hinted that her family has been doing this their entire time. So in a way, it's sort of like they're still slaves. And I was like, is that what's happening here? Except they don't really delve into that. But then it also sort of dives into the whole magical Negro trope. And so it's not great. And Viola Davis is so good in the role, but you're like, oh, we got some Southern racial optics problems here. So that really didn't quite sit well with me. I guess this is a series of books. I would have watched more films in this world other than this one issue, which was a big issue. I thought the characters were really interesting. And maybe you could even have an entire book just about the Viola Davis's family. I don't know. So this one's on Netflix. You can check it out, especially if you're watching these Alden films leading up to Solo coming up. That is not how this wound up happening, but it turns out I've seen most of his movies just on accident, so that's funny, because he hasn't made very many movies. He's made, like, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's made 10 movies, plus he was in Teenage, the documentary, one of my favorite movies, so 11 if you count that, and I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Whoops. Somehow, I don't know. Anyways, I don't quite get his presence. Doesn't quite work for me, but it almost worked in this movie. So it made me see almost what I think other people see. So maybe it gives me hope for Solo, and it gives me hope for maybe seeing something more in him in the future, because perhaps it's the role choices. But also, I don't remember him in the half the movies that I saw him in, so that's not good. Anyways, this was Beastly, a terrible film, and Beautiful Creatures, not the best film, but definitely not a terrible film. Amazon Prime, Netflix, check them out if you're so inclined.